Guys, our friends at Geology are celebrating their 5-year anniversary, and they're doing it with their biggest offer ever. Geology is a 24-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company that creates simple and effective skincare and hair care routines customized just for you. All of their products are made with scientifically proven ingredients trusted by dermatologists and cosmetic chemists. I have been pairing the Deep Jasmine and Clove Hannah Super Clean Body Wash with the natural deodorant in the same scent, and I smell amazing. I've gotten a lot of compliments, and I'll tell you what, it's been simple. You take a 30-second diagnostics quiz, and their team of dermatologists will design a personalized routine that is shipped directly to your door. Right now, for a limited time, they are hooking you up with an absolute insane offer. Use my code Chael70 or scan the QR code on the screen, and they will give you an exclusive 70% off their award-winning skincare trial set. On top of that, you can get 30% on the add-on products of your choice when you add it to your trial. This is one of the best offers you will ever see. Get it before it's gone. Head to geology.com to level up your hygiene routine, or just click on the link below. Does Ian Garry want us to love him or to hate him? And I gotta tell you, I'm a little confused. I'm not sure. Like, he comes out, and the first time I ever saw him was Madison Square Garden a couple of years ago. Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman Part 2 is what my memory is telling me, and he wins the contest. He's a handsome guy. He's a young guy. Throws his arm around Joe Rogan, cuts a promo, shows massive respect to Conor McGregor. I mean, he coined Conor McGregor's phrases and didn't attempt to steal them. He said and cited the source that inspired him, which was Conor McGregor. Which I don't know if Conor is loved or hated himself. Like, at this point, I don't know. People want to see him. He is still the sport's biggest draw. Like, that I don't question. But Conor has always walked the line of go ahead and boo me. I dare you to boo me. It's been that massive attitude of I don't care from McGregor that has been half of the charm of McGregor. But I only bring that to you because I'm not certain where Ian Garry goes. Like, he's this really handsome guy, and then he goes off and he gets married, and now he's a father, and he's just got this beautiful family. Like, everything you see about him, you would like him. Wouldn't you? I think. And then they brought him to Boston, and he had them they were eating out of his hand. Like, everything was going his way. I was there live. The reception, the pop. I mean, that night was the Sugar Show. That is how that story will be told. If you were live in attendance, it was the Sugar Show with the supporting cast of Ian Garry. I mean, it was those two guys, for sure. And then you had a local East Coast house supporting UFC fan base of Chris Weidman. I don't know how many was in attendance. I didn't see that official number. But I know arenas. I can look around. Guys, there was 17 or 18,000 people. It was crazy. Where I was at, and I was halfway up to the building, if I looked up all the way, I couldn't. It could be my mother up there. I wouldn't recognize her. That's how high this building goes. It was packed. And I suggest for you, accurately, if you would have taken a 6-hour product, an 11-fight card, which is what that was, and you would have cannibalized that down to 3 fights, Chris Weidman, Ian Garry, and Sugar Sean's, you would have sold out that arena. Just as many people would have been there. Now, I'm still not sure if what Ian Garry did and Ian Garry's approach anywhere else other than Boston last week would have worked. And I don't mean would have worked for attention. I don't mean that he wouldn't have sold some tickets and been entertaining. I'm talking about what if he had the crowd on his side. There was some moments. He's this very handsome guy, right? And he's very good. But if you listen to him, I don't know that he was the nice guy. I don't know that he wanted or cared about having people cheer him. I mean, he took a very risky approach. He is a young up-and-comer, took on a veteran, a well-known product in Neil Magny. Right there is tough, just historically speaking. Generally, there would be an appreciation shown to Magny. Somehow, Ian Garry took a quote by Neil Magny, turned it upside down on its head, dumped gasoline on it. I mean, not only got many people to believe, I believe he convinced himself that Neil Magny was out of pocket. As opposed to Neil Magny said something and he didn't mean it as a direct application, which is very clearly what happened, right? And he told Neil Magny, he told Neil Magny, he said, you're going to sit there and you're going to think about what you said. He said, you're going to sit there in silence. You're going to reflect. You're going to reflect on what you said. He talked to Neil Magny like Neil was the child and he was the father. When Neil's the veteran and this is the child, just by years and age. And it worked. And it was funny. And I don't know how. But then, okay, so everything's going Ian Garry's way. He goes on, he puts out this performance. I mean, somehow he's getting Neil Magny to go down from leg kicks, which I thought was like an off-balance thing or just a timing or maybe like kind of like a sweep the leg type moment. I mean, it happened kind of fast. But if you fast forward the match, right, I'm talking about the very first round, I'm talking about the very first 2 leg kicks. You fast forward the match, and all of a sudden Neil's limping around. He can't really use that leg anymore. And you go, oh, okay, he wasn't just off balancing him. He's hurting him. Ian Garry's now got power, which we knew he had in his hands, and now we're finding out he's got in his legs. Like, I mean, as far as a performance goes, I have maintained for you for a period of time that Ian Garry doesn't know how good Ian Garry is. But when the end of the night comes, he then uses this opportunity to call out possibly the nicest guy in the sport in Wonderboy Thompson, right? I mean, if you call out Wonderboy, you're understanding that you're going to be booed. You're fully understanding going into that. I'm not in any scenario going to be a nicer guy than the nicest guy. Therefore, I go into the other role. But Ian Garry got the crowd to cheer. They got the crowd, he got the crowd behind him. And I'm just not convinced that if we were anywhere other than Boston, that would have worked. And I'm also not convinced that Ian Garry cares. I don't think he needs to be cheered. I don't think that's the role he's trying to play. I don't fully know, but every single thing that he did was the role of the bad guy. It just happened to work. Right? I mean, it just happened that people were into it. They were into Neil Magny sitting there thinking about what he said. He told Neil Magny to sit there and reflect. He had to reflect. And then when it was over, right, he did it at the press conference. I'm assuming you guys know what I'm talking about. They get to a press, they're both on stage, the world is watching. And Ian Garry tells the media they're not allowed to ask Neil a question, that Neil had misbehaved the day before, as though he had violated the trust of the microphone and therefore has lost the ability to talk into said microphone. And instead, he was going to sit there and think about what it is that he has done. And then, when it's over, he tells Neil that he needs to go home and sit and reflect on everything he's ever done in life. It was so condescending. You know, there's things that you can't do and be a good guy. You cannot pour salt into the wound of a loser. By example, you can't do that and be loved by the audience. But he did. And did he get away with it just because we were in Boston? Did he get away with it just because he had support there? Or is Ian Garry changing the rules to the game? I think it's a fascinating topic. And I think a guy that is loved and people are on his feet, they're there to see him. It's pandemonium as he's cutting his interview, as he's walking out, and then he calls out the nicest guy, which is Wonder Boy. You can't be cheered and call out the good guy. Or can you?